This show has a weird feeling about it. I'm not gonna lie, but the show itself at times didn't feel like WrestleMania. If I had to give reasons why, it's because WWE is too committed with their newer talent, even to the point where they didn't feature any legends in segments and moments. That itself does take away from the essence of WrestleMania, which is a remembrance of icons in history, and I think that's one of the reasons why the show didn't feel the same. It wasn't only that, but the fact that a lot of the matches on the show didn't have the WrestleMania aura to them, despite their build. What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. It's time for WrestleMania once again. I was hyped for this show heading into it because at the end of the day, no matter what went down, and the build itself wasn't the best to be honest, WrestleMania is WrestleMania, and The Rock had done tremendous work throughout this build to make sure that we are tuned in. We are very interested in the show. So right now, let's not waste time, let's get into it. The first match on the show was for the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley defended the gold against Becky Lynch. This story was built for a long time. Becky has doubted herself over the last few months, and she hasn't been on fire, and she hasn't been as consistent as she once was. Her challenge was to keep up with these younger talent, and time after time again, she's proven that she can. Even in the Royal Rumble, she didn't make it to the end and was thrown out randomly. That's the storyline. That said, this match was always going to be the biggest that WWE could do on the Raw side. There was another match that could have happened, that being Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, but I'm sure they're saving that for another time. Rhea had her own themes band, Motionless and White, come out. The lead singer was a little too into the performance, and about the match, it was solid. Unfortunately, there was too much expectations from me. I watched Charlotte and Rhea, and that was an absolutely incredible match, with both women showing great urgency and interest to steal the show. That fire wasn't shown here, and instead it felt like a regular pay-per-view match. What took away from this match is that it was laid out like it wasn't happening at WrestleMania. Rhea basically ate up Becky and dominated, which kind of went against the story they were telling. I thought she was going to put up more of a fight and barely lose as opposed to how it went. They basically told you here that Rhea is on another level. That's what it was. I do think the match would have been better if it was a bit longer with more drama involving Becky almost scoring the victory. Instead, she kind of felt like Dolph Ziggler when he had that title match at SummerSlam 2016. She's just basically another challenger. However, other than that, it was decent. I just thought they were going to try and top the WrestleMania 39 match. Well, I was wrong. I was expecting a little too much. Rhea's title reign hasn't been the best, and it's very possible that she continues this reign up until next year, which is kind of crazy because we already seen long title reigns as it is. And the question of who can dethrone her, well, there's Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Bianca due to the fact that they rose up together, and she has the WrestleMania undefeated streak going on, so there's that. The next match is a six-pack ladder match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. The Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest defended the titles against DIY, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, The New Day, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and Awesome Truth. This was a crazy-ass ladder match. It's a way to get many people on the show, and man, oh man, was it enjoyable. The spots were high risk and wild, and it's hard for me to make it any interesting because we've seen these spots in other ladder matches. There was some crazier ones, such as JD McDonough getting pushed off the ladder, but it's mostly the same stuff you know from the ladder match. Other than that, 8-Town Down Under winning the SmackDown titles caught me off guard. It just came from out of nowhere and was kind of funny to see. Then Awesome Truth won the Raw Tag Team titles to give R-Truth his first WrestleMania win ever. It was a feel-good moment in a very good match, and I just don't have much to say about the ladder match itself. Other than that, the most useless holder of the briefcase, Damian Priest, probably thought he was empty-handed. The faction, the Judgment Day, is probably going to end soon. It feels that way, and I hope it's Finn Balor who turns face if it happens, because I think he has the most to offer in that role compared to Priest. I miss the old Balor with the theme song and the Balor Club thing going on. Plus, with Triple H running things, he could be the 2021 version of himself. I just personally prefer that over Damian Priest turning. As for Awesome Truth and 8-Town Down Under, I don't expect much with their title reigns. The next match is a tag team match. Rey Mysterio and Andrade faced Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar. This came from out of nowhere in all areas. I thought Escobar would face Rey in a singles match, but I guess they had other plans. Dom obviously deserved a spot on the card, and I guess this was their way of putting him in. Dragon Lee getting replaced is kind of messed up, but if there's one guy to replace him, it's Andrade. All four men showed up on the biggest stage here, with Rey once again looking amazing despite his age and injuries. He's still as smooth as ever, which is crazy. It's absolutely insane how this guy's almost 50, yet he's still putting on these performances. This was a decent match with Andrade shining bright as the returning talent. I did think there was a chance he'd turn heel, but I'm glad that didn't happen because it doesn't really need to. Interference from Legado and LWO, all kinds of drama leads to Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey of all people helping Rey and Andrade win the match. Solid stuff. Rey and Dom didn't need to be revisited here. It was more of a competition thing as opposed to being an intense feud like it was a year ago. The result was expected because Andrade has only returned recently, and I didn't think he'd look like a loser so soon even by result. So there's that. Alright, the next match was between Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. This feud was long term. It started at SummerSlam with Jimmy turning on his brother and in turn contributing to his insane rise over the last few months. Their story was always meant for WrestleMania 40. Jay had Lil Wayne performing a Millie, which is one of his most iconic songs to the ring. His voice sounded like an adult chipmunk, which is of course due to age. He didn't sound like that in the past, but I thought it was nice that they brought him because it showed that WWE has motion. It ain't 2008 Lil Wayne, but the name is still big. And his entrance alone shows just how much further Jey Uso is compared to Jimmy. This match, to be honest, was forgettable. I know I don't like a match when I'm watching and forgetting what's happening. That's exactly what happened to me here. I almost forgot that this was Jimmy and Jey facing off, and I was watching it, but I wasn't into it. At times, it felt like they were wrestling in slow motion and just trying to get things over with, which is never a good thing. They traded the same moves for like 2 minutes. The crowd was dry, which is because of the cold, but these two weren't doing anything to heat it up, and after spamming the same moves, Jimmy felt bad for things and decided to use this against Jey, but it didn't work, and in the end, Jey scored the victory. He finally moves on from the storyline, and I'm almost shocked that Solo Sikoa didn't get involved. Other than that, this match was dull. Everyone expected it to be because of how both men were mostly used to wrestling in tag matches, but there was also a sense of optimism because of the fact that they're brothers. But it didn't work. It wasn't a great match, and some of that could be because of the fact that they weren't intense with each other. They were wrestling like it was a basic match. They were wrestling like they were brothers and going easy on each other. That's what it felt like. They didn't go all out trying to make it brutal, intense. There wasn't a no DQ match, which it kind of should have been, but it is what it is. It wasn't a great match. The next match was a 6-women's tag team match. Damage Control faced Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. This was what I expected it to be. The teams had special entrances, and in the case of the Good Woman, they came out all majestic like they descended from the heavens, and that moment in itself made me realize, yeah, there's no way they're losing. It was obvious on Friday, but this also cemented the fact that in my mind, they weren't going to spend too much time with this match. The sponsors over this match were goofy, as they were during the entire show. It's not a big deal, but it's dumb. Obviously, they're making money from it, but I don't like it. Simple as that. The action was decent, but it wasn't much. The trio of Jade, Naomi, and Bianca looked amazing out there, and they could be a team for a bit afterwards. A part-time team, something they could do every once in a while. It was good to see them win. Other than that, Asuka loses at WrestleMania, which is unfortunate, and it's yet another loss for Damage Control. The other three, though, were crazy. They were wild and have an insane amount of star power to them, and I expect WWE to follow up on them over the next year. The next match is for the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther defended the title against Sami Zayn. So Gunther's been champion for almost 2 years. He's had a tremendous title reign that went through all kinds of opponents and talent. By the end of it, he's come out of it a much better man with a bunch of classics under his belt. Sami Zayn, on the other hand, has once again found himself as a babyface, a role that comes natural to him, and this match did come from out of nowhere, but I'm not complaining. I thought it was going to be Chad Gable, but it turns out that WWE had other plans. This story, though, is one that Zayn is very familiar with, and some of his best matches involve himself being doubtful and nervous about those matches. This was no different. The action itself was great, but once they set into the story of Gunther being unstoppable, that elevated the match and gave it much more of a purpose. Gunther was stomping on Zayn in front of his family and basically confirming his worries about this one. It was incredible, and as time went on, Gunther was making things worse for the challenger in front of his family, and it got to the point where the ref was about to end things, but from out of nowhere, Zayn was unlocked. This guy went crazy, pulled out some of his old moves, and dropped Gunther to win the Intercontinental Championship. So WrestleMania has officially started. What a match. Watching it live was insane and showed that Sami Zayn, as good as he is as a heel, and he is, I think he's actually a great heel. He's even better as a face and has the crowd support, the underdog element about him that Mick Foley had. And I'm just thinking to myself, why did it take them so long to turn him face? He's way better in this role. Gunther's reign has officially ended, and I know it's only going to get better for him. He's going up to the very top in the main event. There's a pay-per-view in Germany in August, and I expect him to be in the main event. But for Sami Zayn, this was yet another WrestleMania classic for him. And the main event, The Rock and Roman Reigns faced Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes in a tag team match. One of the biggest matches in WrestleMania history, the biggest tag team match in the history of the show. It's crazy how things ended up, and what a build from The Rock. The Great One has played an integral part in the build to WrestleMania, and for most of the time, he's carried it. Rock is an all-time talent that basically shows he's miles ahead of others. There's just something special about him, which is, what's that saying, once in a lifetime. He's the real final boss out here, and I wouldn't be upset if he had an epilogue-esque main event with Cody Rhodes on night 2. It would not upset me. Like, if they had that match after the main event, I would not care in the slightest, and I would accept it. The entrances were something. Cody had a great entrance. Seth had a great entrance. The Rock's entrance was the best. He came out with a title belt, flames, everything was crazy about it, and then you have Roman Reigns coming out like it's a regular pay-per-view. But this was an incredible moment to see Roman Reigns with The Rock facing Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. It felt fake to see this match actually go down. I thought Rock was going to wrestle as if he's in a mariachi band initially, but he took off the pants and wrestled in his regular trunks. The action was basic initially. I kind of got bored during the crowd brawl moment. Rock was cool trashing the ref saying he'll fire him if he counts, and the match got better once they got back in the ring. And the action was incredible. There was magic in the air with this one due to the fact that they thought of the spots well and went with the flow. Rock wasn't in singles match shape, but he put in the work here and did his part as an amazing heel who will always try to get one over Cody Rhodes. I also think they went a little too hard, especially the other three, seeing as they have a match on night 2, but hey, this is WrestleMania. It's go big or go home. Rollins and Rhodes worked well as a tag team, and all they needed to do was get comfortable, and from there the match was hard. There was a lot of spots that had me believing the match was over, and wow, it was an experience. It was one hell of a match. The Rock was the star of this match. He obviously didn't do as many moves as the others, but he made good with his heel work, pulling the referee out of the ring, and it was wild. The crowd was actually on his side over Cody's at times, but whenever Roman was in the ring, that wasn't the same story. The moment Roman Reigns dropped Rock was crazy, and definitely a moment they'll explore later, which of course led to the double pedigrees from Rollins and Rhodes, which the Bloodline kicked out of. I thought it was over. Rock went through an announce table and Rollins went through the barricade. It was chaotic in a good way and provided countless memorable spots. The final sequence also provided everyone a callback to WrestleMania 39, leading to The Rock scoring the victory and making it Bloodline rules for night 2. What a match. These guys went all out for a night 1 match despite their matches for the next night, and this match in itself, this one was befitting for a WrestleMania main event. The Rock was the star of this entire show. This guy came out like he was a leader of a mariachi band with his own title that's not even an official title, with the biggest ego in the world, telling everybody what to do and doing some slimy stuff such as pulling the ref, using the belt as a weapon. The Rock really reminded everyone of who he was. This entire run has shown that everything about his reputation and career was over-exaggerated, and this image of Cody Rhodes was one of the best in the entire show. It was amazing. Rock man of the match. He got Cody to down himself for night 2. That's the story here. So that's WrestleMania. This show wasn't the best, let's be honest. I felt a bit zoned out at times watching this one because of the fact that a lot of the matches here didn't feel big. They were supposed to be bigger than they were, but they weren't. The opener, I thought it could have been better. It wasn't bad. It was actually like a solid match. Good match, actually. Ladder match, good. The other matches were decent other than Jimmy and Jay. Gunther and Sami Zayn was actually the start of WrestleMania in my eyes. A tremendous match. Tremendous story with Sami Zayn. Gunther goes out having one of the best title reigns in recent years. And the main event is my match of the night. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Main event was my match of the night due to the electricity these guys pulled through. Rock's heel work was absolutely amazing and a sight to see. It was world-class stuff from all 4 men. Great stuff. They showed up when it matters most, and I was glad that happened. As for night 2, hopefully it's better. It does have potential to be better. But this show, a lot of it fell off. The audience lights were turned off. It felt dark. It was supposed to be an extravagant show. Like, bro, you have a big-ass stadium. Turn on the damn lights. Show us what WrestleMania is supposed to be. And they didn't do that for half of the show. Other than that, though, decent stuff. I didn't think it was the best event. It's just not something I'd watch again. Other than the last 2 matches, of course. Those 2 matches saved the show. You know, if it wasn't for those 2 matches, people would have been trashing this WrestleMania. So yeah. Alright, what do you guys think of WrestleMania Night 1? Please comment down below, and that's the first video. Make sure you hit the spear on the like button and perhaps the people's elbow and the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.